Well, hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 128. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and number one best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction: Align Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires. I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Amanda Daley. Amanda Jane Daley is a leading business mentor for health and wellness entrepreneurs. With nearly 20 years in online marketing, Amanda has earned recognition by the world's top advertising awards. The fast-paced corporate lifestyle saw her training in multiple energetic healing modalities for many years to survive and heal her own health. Since stepping away from the corporate grind to combine her two superpowers, which are healing and marketing, in a unique business mentoring approach, she has built a seven-figure online coaching business that has served thousands of new entrepreneurs worldwide. And she can be found on her website, amandajdailey.com. That's amandajdailey.com. And today, Amanda is going to be sharing some of her insights on breaking through the mindset blocks that keep you small. So welcome to the show, Amanda.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. It's great to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you from all the way across the world, and one of my almost favorite places that I never got to visit. This year I was on my way there in March, and so we all know what happened in March.
Yes, I was actually meant to be in the US for most of this year, so I'm with you. I hear you.
Yes. So one day we will get to cross cross those barriers.
Mm.
Anyway, so it's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this show are, entrepreneurs that are going to be very, very interested in what they can do to grow their businesses up to even six and seven figures. And so, thank you very much for sharing your information, your wisdom with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what are the four common myths that wellness entrepreneurs believe that hold them back?
Yeah, there are so many. I really do think, if we had to summate the interview right now, it would be that mindset is really, what will grow your business. And I'm sure you know that, and your audience probably knows that. But for all the mindsets that are out there, I really have put things into four buckets of what I feel, categories, if you like. And the top one, for some reason, I'm seeing it even more than ever right now, is that imposter syndrome, the feeling of being a fraud. So when we come
Yes.
into business, our mind tends to always tell us we're not enough. I need more qualifications. I'm only a beginner. I haven't, especially in the health industry, this feeling that maybe I have to be perfect in my health, or maybe I have to have overcome some massive illness, have this big story, or I'm not a doctor, I'm not a naturopath, I'm not this kind of feeling of being a fraud, I feel is probably the top one, especially right now for some reason, that really holds people back. And it's, if you want to look at the myth of that, it's the expectation that somehow you're meant to be advanced when you're a beginner. Being
Hmm.
able to embrace the wonders of being a beginner and working with what's here and now. So that's the first one that I see. The second one is scarcity, which normally starts with I'm not enough. It'll work for other people, but not for me. Nobody's going to buy from me. Or often I see the scarcity of this won't work in my town, or this won't work online, or this won't work offline, or or maybe there's already too many other people in my industry. So all the scarcity things, not enough, not enough, not enough, is kind of the pre-phrase to that one. And then probably my favorite of the four, but next in line would be lack. So no one's going to pay my prices. All the things around money. People don't have money. People won't pay for that. People don't buy, health coaching or healing, or people shouldn't have to pay for those kind of things. I often hear people saying, like that they feel bad charging, or all the things come with lack, but all around money. That is one of the strongest and definitely my favorite to work with. And then the fourth, I put in a category of like visibility fears. Largely, this is wrapped up in I'm going to be judged, people aren't going to like me, am I good enough again? You can see a lot of these have crossover. And this really ends up being a focus on worrying about how we look, how we sound, am I going to say the right thing, instead of being in service. And that's what stops us in business, getting online, getting the people seeing us, being seen as an expert, etc.
Wow. Not only am I sure that my audience can relate to that, but I mean, I've definitely dipped my head in all of those categories. I mean, there's just this perception with the fraud thing. I mean, that, you just have to have it all figured out. Your life has to be going perfect. You can never have a fight with your your spouse, or you can never ever have a headache or take an Advil because you have one. You can never lose your temper. You have to make $1,000 a day, or whatever it is. And so it's like, it's all this pressure that we put on ourselves that it's fake news.
Yeah, right. And it makes you think, the conversation I was having with someone recently, like there's areas of life where I think it's become more normal to talk about the negative sides. So for example, maybe mothers now talk about how hard it is having kids, as well as the wonders. But in business, it tends to be that people only show the shiny side. No one's really showing up saying, I had my worst month of sales, or, I had these client issues, or whatever it might be. You don't see that conversation. So it does perpetuate, when you are starting a business, of feeling this expectation that it's all meant to be perfect. Whereas it's not the reality at all.
Exactly. Or in this year, I don't know if one of the crazy mindsets, like I've had personally I've actually had my best year. And, I mean, even within the first 6 months, it was already my best year. And I think there's this feeling like you almost have to everybody else is complaining about how bad the economic environment is, and they're doing bad, so you feel almost like guilty for doing good. I don't know if that is another mindset that you've come across more specifically with this year.
Oh, absolutely. It actually happens anyway in that money category. I mean, money mindset is my absolute passion. And often we say we want to make more and we want to do more, but there are those negatives that are like subconscious about what people will say or think. If we, who do you think you are if you're making that much money? What do you think? Everybody else tends to be struggling. I actually hired someone a few months ago who'd been made redundant in the current climate. And she ended up not staying, but I watched it in her mindset. All of her colleagues were struggling right now. Mm-hmm. All of her colleagues were finding themselves right now and, doing job seeker and all these things. And you could almost see it like she needed to stay part of the pack instead of kind of couldn't hold that, oh, you have a job. And you get what I'm saying? Like we want to stay, and there's so much to this, obviously. That sometimes we want to stay with our friends, we want to stay with our family, and we think that these things are going to change when we become successful, or when people find out how much money we're making, or find out that we have things. And I've had my best year yet so far as well, and a lot of my clients have. Mm-hmm. I think we had a lot of clients who parents were saying, like, now's not the time to build a business, like be safe, going into a recession, and all of these things. And the power of who you surround yourself with in our communities, when you're in a business program, like we're getting clients, we're doing it. And some of the ladies talked about that being the key factor if they were just other people in the story that we tell ourselves. Because we try to fit, or we try to, and obviously this isn't always conscious, So we do feel guilty sometimes, don't we? Like, who am I to be doing this? Or all of those sides of it.
Exactly. So where do these mindsets come from?
Oh, that's a deep question. I think at a basic level, a lot of it comes from what we grow up in. We often don't see what, kind of like we're in a fishbowl of our own life, and we don't understand what we might have grown up, especially around money, say. Maybe we grew up with parents talking down about people who had a lot of money. We've all heard, oh, the rich bitch, or the, lucky for them, or it might have been the other way around. You might have had a lot of money and parents might have talked down about people who didn't, as lazy, or, these kind of beliefs get instilled in us and not necessarily taught to us, but we just heard a phrase at an impressionable age. And so a lot of these things, self-confidence, self-esteem, feeling like a fraud, even visibility, most of them, I think, to some degree, start from our childhood, and that's the human experience, I guess. And then some of the work that I've done as well has gone much deeper than that into past life, or, DNA, etc. And I guess maybe that's a belief for people. But sometimes I personally do think we just come in with these things, or we've had some kind of other life memory or something. So they're not to be hard on ourselves about, regardless of where they first started. I think for me, it's more about being able to see them and witness them and question, what if this was just a belief? What if this wasn't true? And playing with that. I really see it as quite a game, really, a curiosity game of who would I be without that thought? What would that even mean? And exploring that.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Because people they just take these beliefs as if they're true. And you may have just learned this. I mean, some of them aren't even necessarily quite as deep as when you were 4 years old. Some of them you might have just heard a year ago or last week and we just instantly believe things.
I had a client just the other week. This is such a perfect story. She kept showing up to coaching, talking about why it's not working because she's an introvert, and how, she can't really do this because she's an introvert. When I got coaching her on it one day, it wasn't even a long-term story. Somebody had told her when she started her business, oh, that will probably be hard for you because you're such an introvert. Turns out she's not even an introvert. But someone, in her new business journey, it's like a changing time, I guess, very impressionable. Someone had told her that's not going to work for you. Other people have had other mentors who've told them, well, you won't be able to sell in this industry in this price point, on this package. And it's amazing, even from mentor to mentor, how I can see people are stuck with these beliefs. So thanks for saying that, because it's not always from childhood, is it? They can be, something that someone said to us yesterday.
Exactly. It could just be that, somebody told us something and we were in a really elated or a really bad mood. I think our mood can really have a lot to do with, how easily we buy into these beliefs. But what do you think makes these beliefs so powerful?
Do you mean, why do we hold on to them? Mm-hmm. Or is it, that's really interesting. I think a lot of the time it comes back to identity. We quickly form an identity of ourselves based on these beliefs. And we start acting, and, literally, don't we? It's whatever's going on in the mind is creating our emotions, our behaviors, our actions, and we start acting in a certain way. So, for example, when women come into my program, we normally, as a beginner, a coach or wellness entrepreneur, we focus on a 5K month first. And yes, that is a tangible money step, but we always talk about being the 5K a month woman. And that might be an extra 5K a month if you're used to, making a certain amount of money, or it might be your first. And it's all about how would you act now if that was the case. This is where you see the gap, between how we act when we really think I'm trying to get there or I'm not there, versus what if I just was that? because we don't even really want the results most of the time. We actually just want to be that person.
Isn't it true?
Yeah, definitely. As you know, money mindset is such a passion for me. Most people don't want money. They want what they think that feeling is going to bring them. And we can be that right now when we work out what thought patterns are creating either way.
Oh, I so agree with you. I mean, that is, and that's so tricky though for so many people to, yeah, but I'm just not happy because I'm not making what I want to make, or because I'm afraid, or because I'm worried, or because I have all these anxieties. So, how do you suggest a person challenge those anxieties?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's important when we do this work not to make us broken and now we need fixing. I think we can get stuck in that cycle. And I have seen it when people are like, oh, now I'm aware of mindset and blocks and all this thing. And then they get stuck in I'm broken instead of feeling empowered, to move that forward. I work on a 3-part, what I call golden hour in my teaching, but really it can be done in 6 minutes. The 3-part. The first part for me is constantly expanding and listening. So maybe listening to a podcast like this, listening to audiobooks, listening or reading, expanding beyond what your current thoughts might be. And for me, honestly, I'm looking for the things that trigger me. I'm looking for the things that well, that's not the way I believe or think. And really identifying that. And I do a lot of journaling on, you don't have to try and fix it, just free form journaling. What do I think about this? What if I thought this way? Open to curiosity, like we're talking about before. The second part for me is always meditation. So if we were doing an hour, it might be 20 minutes or it might just be 2 minutes, where we really get present. If the past has no impact, if there's no future, we're just really present. What can we come to that place first? And then what feelings am I wanting? And I totally appreciate we're all in flux and we're human, but we could sit here right now with anybody and in 1-2 minutes have someone feeling happy, have someone feeling joyful. And to me, it's a bit like going to the gym. We can practice it in ourselves, say each morning, and then just drop it for the day. Yeah. Don't beat yourselves up. But it really does start to build that muscle of just that identity, practicing being in that state. And I'm sure there's quantum, proof on that as well. But for me, it's just we can sit and practice. And it's teaching us that we're not actually attaching a success or a business win or something to getting that state. We can be there now. So that's the second part. And then for me, the third is creating our new reality, our future from the present moment. And that's so, again, we can amp up those emotions. How do I really want to feel? Often I'll put on some music and either do mantras or journaling. It's 6 months from now. I feel amazing because I'm making $5,000 every month. And again, practicing it. At first, you're probably not going to believe it. But to me, it is like a practice until right? Until
right.
It is there. So
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing is you don't want to put a time limit on this. Why why put a time limit on? I mean, you want to set goals on a timeline, but it's if it doesn't happen by that time, what are you going to do? You're just going to, you're not going to give up on it. You're going to continue to pursue it until.
Yeah, and I think there's so much out there, isn't there, when we talk manifestation and mindset and everything. And I know one of the books that I love, Science of Getting Rich, one of the old, classics, but also
that one.
Books will have a mantra, and they'll say, I'm going to make $5,000 by the 30th of October by doing whatever, and then people will get upset because it didn't happen. And I think that I want to say we need to be in reality, but we're not. It's like that both. If you don't have a way of that money coming, sure, in some instances you might create miracles, money might drop in, whatever that might be. And I've definitely had a lot of experience with that for sure. But it's not about that. I don't think we're trying to create magic money dropping out of the air. It's fun. It's things like that.
Yeah.
But really, it's about, like you say, being that, becoming that. And in which case, who cares about the timeline? It's more
Exactly.
about, and this is where sometimes I think smaller goals are actually much more powerful than, I want to be a millionaire by the end of the month. Well,
Right.
probably not going to happen. But how do you want to feel? Like, what do you want right now? Just feel like that little push up, because it is, again, identity shift. It's a little bit of a shift up, and that might be I buy a handbag that I
Yeah.
never let
Well,
go buy before.
I
As a
always say, I always say that, if whatever it is that you're doing, in order to, move toward that goal, whatever it is that the action part, if it feels like something you don't want to do anymore after so much time, then that's probably not the thing that's
yeah,
gonna get
right.
you, like you want to be. You want to be wealthy as a result of doing what you love from who you are, from who you would need to be. And so, I totally 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and that's where people are back. Probably all of us originally are chasing it backwards, aren't we? When we get the money, we'll be happy. Whereas
Hmm.
really, it's about, I can be happy now, and from that place, how do I choose to grow a business or bring in money?
Yeah. So let's take a little step back, a little journey back into, a time in your life when maybe things weren't working out so well for you and your business. When you faced your worst business nightmare. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, look, I think business is, constantly a growth journey, but there is one event that really stands out to me for sure. So I build my business, I run my business traditionally in two large launch cycles a year,
Hmm.
which is not necessarily a model I would recommend. It's actually quite high risk. And what that means is all eggs in one basket. I use Facebook advertising. I put a lot of money into that up front, and there's no guarantees, of what's going to come out the other side. A couple of years ago, I also had a very large team, larger than I do now, large running costs, all of these things. And it's always this fear in me when we look at mindset, like, if it didn't work, oh my God, I'll lose everything. So we were in a launch that was going well. We were on our webinar to sell that launch. We had about 400 or more people live. It was amazing. Everyone was onto the pitch. And then the webinar software cut me off. And it wasn't just cut me off. Like, the webinar was still going, but I was unable to speak. I was unable to be on camera. And it brought out a lot of things. So it actually brought out trolls who were sitting, other business coaches who were sitting on that call, started attacking me, started, putting things down, trying to take the clients from there. My team freaked out, like completely freaked out. So nobody stepped in to kind of fix it. I freaked out. And so basically the whole thing shut down.
Oh
And
my
sure enough,
God. That is
like,
the worst.
it was horrific. And there was a lot of money put in upfront on this, on ads. And in my mind too, a lot of what really triggered me at the time was actually feeling super responsible for my team. Like, I would have
Yeah.
people around me saying, oh my God, like, I can't pay my credit card if this launch doesn't happen, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was the day after my 40th birthday party. It wasn't quite my birthday, but I remember like holding it together through the party. And like, as soon as everyone had gone, I just lay on the ground, and it literally felt like life was over. In my mind, I was going to lose my house. I was going to lose my business. I was going to, what I thought I'd done to my team, like, and reputation, like, I'm a business coach, and what have I done? And I feel like I went there and faced it, like, literally, emotionally, spiritually, everything, faced the worst fears. And then, of course, like a week later, it's like, oh, well, life hasn't really changed. Nothing's really any different. And all that did was make me go, okay, well, how am I going to make up that number of sales in a different way than we normally do? And it
Hmm.
catapulted me on my path to trying to get out of the launch cycle, because now we were doing little sales and seeing, oh, this works a month later. Oh, this works 2 months later. And we actually made more money that year. And, it kind of got us out of the plateau where we'd been sitting at a certain level for a while. But
Uh-huh.
that's easy to say now, but at the time, I literally thought everything was over. Like my deepest, darkest, like emotions and demons came to the surface. And I honestly think there's others that I've gone through in business that when you face it, you're not really scared of it anymore. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, okay, of course I want things to go well now, but I realize that the worst case scenario is not even that bad. And that builds your resilience and I think takes away fear for you to keep moving forward. I do still talk about
Wow.
January
Yeah.
2020 launch though. Like I'd like to keep clearing that.
Yeah.
We're almost past it now, but yeah, these things. And there's an example too, isn't it, where we're layering in the negative experiences as we're going as well. So yeah, that was definitely
Well, it sounds like it actually turned into a very positive experience.
it really did, but at the time it didn't. And there's aspects of that I'm still journeying through to get out of that launch cycle and way of working. It's something I actively I've been working on for a couple of years, mindset and belief wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, when I look back, it was, and I guess sometimes they don't work out as well, and that's okay as well.
Right. Well, and they say there's no such thing as failure, only feedback.
Yeah, I
So, what was the big learning lesson from that experience?
from that, for me, it was really like the worst case scenario is not even like bad, like
Yeah.
it doesn't actually affect how I am, how I can feel, who I can be in that day. We just did a recent launch as well. Thankfully, that one went well. And, but of course, I have that fear when all the money goes out up front. And I
Hmm.
remember that still playing in my mind only a couple of weeks ago. And there was a day where I went, oh, the money's already gone. Like this fear that the money could go and not come back. It's like the money's already gone. My life hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I'm still happy, healthy. It makes no difference to me that there was that money in the bank a week ago and not now. And it will actually make no difference whether it comes back or not. Yeah. So sometimes we just have these stories of what if. And when we're in this scenario, that's what I learned back then and continue to observe now. It actually makes no difference.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So you frequently challenge your coaches to go out and get rejected. So tell us a little bit about why you do that.
Yeah, I think when people come into business, there's an unrealistic expectation that it's supposed to be all wins. And especially, we talked before about acceptance and people will like me and, making it all personal. If you were in sales, like in any sales job, which I know that none of us kind of wanted to be salespeople, if you're in sales, you'd have a quota and you bring 100 people that day. And you know that out of 100, like you get 100 ticks on your tick board, and you
Hmm.
know that you'll get to say yes and 98 say no. But you celebrate every one. You're happy when someone hangs up. Tick, yep, I'm on my way to 100. When we come into this kind of business, for some reason, we are only counting people who accept us. We're only looking for likes. We're only looking for comments. We're looking for approval through our business, which is not what sales and business is about. It's about putting yourself out there with service and expecting it's just business. Some people will say yes, some will say no. And it's really not personal in that way. So I find when I challenge my clients to go out and get rejected, now they're in the game. Now they're actually celebrating. Oh, I did it. It wasn't even that bad. Just like my money story I shared, people will get rejected and they're like, oh, it wasn't even that bad. And that now their probability of getting yeses has just skyrocketed. So yeah, I found that to be one of the most powerful exercises in coaching people to get their first client and to put,
That's
those.
That's great. Well, it's to me, it sounds like somebody starting off, or even just somebody who needs to pull themselves out of whatever to the next level of their coaching business, wherever they're at. It sounds like they could definitely gain a lot of value from working with you. So, tell us a little bit about how a person can start, working with you. And I understand you also have a free gift for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Upswing Mastermind is my core program. So anybody could check out upswingmastermind.com, and that is the main place But we have a 6-month business school for people getting into business. And as you can hear, it's a combination of marketing, business training, but a lot of mindset. The reason I give so much away for free in business is because I know these pieces in my journey. We have to be coached. I mean, I don't think you can even do that yourself, really. So I believe in coaching, and it's a high touch coaching experience for 6 months. So that's Upswing Mastermind. And then, I pulled together a page for you. And so it's on my website. It's amandajdaily.com/tap into. And I just put a little few goodies on there. One's just a link to my free Facebook group.
I love it.
2,000 or so healthy, healing, ambitious and entrepreneurs. Anyone's welcome to come hang with us there. And I put a little guide in there on how to start attracting clients that you're looking for.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, this has been really neat. I've really enjoyed learning about you and just different ways that we can pull ourselves out of these fears of success in coaching, and because that's really what it all boils down to. Just getting out of the mindset that is telling us that, oh, if we try to reach our goals, that these bad scenarios could come to pass, and if they do, then so what's next? And this has been really empowering and really informative and really insightful. And so I encourage our listeners to go to amandajdaily.com/tap into and find out more about Amanda and get those goodies. And look forward to talking with you again next week on Power of Your Mind. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being a guest on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Victoria.
Thank you.